Welcome to Back of the Net. I'm joined here by a familiar face by the way of Sky Sports' Mark McAdam. Mark, how are you?
Yeah, not so bad, thanks. I'm doing all right considering I was up at 6 a.m. this morning and going early.
I know that the yellow transfer deadline day is a thing of the past. I've seen you wear flashy ties to certain things. I've tried to emulate you with the shirt today,
like that.
mate.
Yeah,
it wasn't
all right.
intentional, but you're looking dapper as ever, mate. And look, you've been on Sky Sports this morning. You've been here from very early doors. Seems to be a little bit calm before the storm at the moment. Yesterday was a really busy day, and it has been a relatively busy last 48 hours. But it seems to be a bit of hush here. Is there further news to come?
It's rather quaint, quiet, and peaceful at the moment, which is unlike deadline day, isn't it? It's normally, slam, bang, wallop, and all systems go. Where it's just bubbling, I would say, is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
We know the club are working actively in the background to try and recruit players today. We know that there's a couple of deals agreed as well as the Matthias Viña that came into the country last night. I've seen him this morning. He's gone through the media stuff and he's been involved in a little bit of light training as well. So that's one deal that's all sorted out. But the good news for Bournemouth fans is I still think there could be maybe one more, maybe two more. I know that they are trying desperately to bring players to the club.
What names that we don't know?
Yes. So, and that's the exciting thing, isn't it? It's
Wow.
But then there could be. Let's be honest. Neil, Richard, Gary. There'll probably be 6 or 7 names that they're just juggling.
Yeah.
And one or two might land. And that's always the way. That's what a lot of clubs do at this stage. They're just spinning plates. They're keeping players there that they might go for. If they don't get their target, then they can action something quickly.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get your target and you miss, and you don't have time to go and get it tomorrow because there is no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you have to keep everyone just on the edge of the seat just in case.
So in terms of Dongo, he was done early. Darren Randolph relatively early. Semenyo as well. Are these players that are coming in relatively recently over the last 48 hours, are these players that the club have had their eyes on for quite a while, or have they been forced to look elsewhere relatively quickly? Because a lot of fans are asking, well, why weren't these guys signed up earlier?
Well, quite simply, if you're a player and you're an agent and you've got interest from clubs, why would you make a decision on January the 1st when on January the 31st you might get an extra £10,000 a week? The agent might get more money. There might be a bigger fee or a smaller fee. The dynamics change. So it's one of those things. If you saw the January transfer window that was, say, over 10 days, you'd probably see exactly the same deals done. They'd just be done in a short space of time. But when you're at January the 15th, you can take your time to make a decision. You don't have to be forced into saying, oh yeah, I've got to do this, I'll do it now. You can wait and you can drag it out and you can see what develops, and that's often the case. So it's basically against the clock in January, and the clock now is ticking down, and that's why decisions have to be made, because if you don't make a decision now, then the deal's off. And you'll have to stay where you are or you won't get your move. So that's why I don't think it's a case of they've just gone, right, let's look at who we can get now and bring them in. They spend a lot of their time looking and scouting and recruiting and looking at the data and the metrics, and they spend a lot of time trying to find and work for the right types of players. And I think it just gets to a point where they can action the ones that they can action. Of course, certain players won't want to come to Bournemouth because of their position in the league. Certain players will want to play European football. Certain players want more money. They want to be at a bigger club because that suits their ego. There's all these factors at play when it comes to signing a player. And ultimately, they can only bring in the players that they want to bring in.
So are the players that we're signing at the moment, are they expected to hit the ground running? Because of course we know that Nicholas Jackson, he reached as far as his medical stage, and I think they needed a second look, and then it was decided that he was going to be out injured for an extended period of time. Are these all players that we can field on Saturday, for instance?
As far as I'm concerned, these are players that are going into a relegation battle. They're going into Gary O'Neill's first team, the squad, the environment, and they're going to have an impact immediately. You've rightly touched upon Nicholas Jackson, a player that they have spent a lot of time looking at, working on, putting the deal together, went back and forth. The most important thing to remember is that they knew that he had a hamstring problem when they agreed the deal with Villarreal. They were told and made aware that it would be out, a couple of weeks. It turned out to be a little bit longer than that, maybe 7 or 8 weeks. And obviously they don't want to spend in excess of £20 million on a player that can't come in and have an impact straight away. By the time he settles into the country, gets used to training, gets used to the Premier League, Bournemouth might be relegated. It might be the end of April by that point.
Yeah.
They need a player that can hit the ground running, and I think that's very much in the remit. And they decided to step away from the deal, which I think was a sensible thing to do. But the good thing, I think, from looking outside is that not only have they walked away from a deal, but they've gone on to try and get other players as well and other targets, and they've been active, they've worked hard, they've tried to sign players. It's not easy to attract players to come to Bournemouth when they're the smallest club in the Premier League. They don't have the biggest fan base, but this is a club that has an exciting future under Bill Foley, and I think that's what the players that have come are buying into, and they're joining into a project that is right at the beginning now, and that could be the most exciting time.
That was my next question, actually, because it must be hard to sell a project, because look, a lot of these players have been playing top flight football in, say, like Italy, for instance, in big stadiums, and you know, they're coming to the Vitality Stadium. We're lucky if we get 11,000 in there these days. It's a different environment for them, but is it the dream that's being sold to them, like the same dream that's being sold to supporters in terms of what this club could be?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's come and look at the stadium, but imagine this when it's much bigger. You know, we're looking to build a new stadium. We're looking to invest in that. Look at the training ground.
So these long-term prospects, then, if they're trying to sell them that dream?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think very often you'd sign a player with the plan that you'll sell him in the next transfer window for more money. I think, of course, every single signing that is made by the club, they will think, if we pay 10 million, can we sell him for 40 million? A la Callum Wilson, Nathan Aké, Aaron Ramsdale. That is every single transfer. Can there be a resale value? Unless you're signing a player over the age of 30, then you're always thinking about can we make money? That's the whole point of the business. Yeah. You know, that's what they need to do. And then you reinvest it again. You see Brentford do it. You see Brighton do it. You see other clubs do it. And that's what Bournemouth have done historically as well. So that's very much a part of the remit. But I think they will be sold the dream that Bill Foley is now the owner of this football club. Hugely ambitious man who's been incredibly successful in America with his business and with his sporting franchises, and this is very much the same type of model for Bournemouth. We're right at the beginning of this, and the fans need to be aware that there needs to be a little bit of patience, and this is a process that needs to be built and things, and it will take a little bit of time. But the dream is there, and the ambitions are there, and they're just putting things in place in terms of an infrastructure that will hopefully start to attract these players, because they think, right, this is a small club, but it's got big ambitions and it's going in the right direction, and I want to be a part of that.
So we saw you checking your phone there, and Bournemouth fans are often wondering, when you're talking on your phone, I mean, we're doing a vlog that's going to be out tomorrow that's going to cover how the press are doing it today. Who are you getting calls from? Is it from agents? Is it from owners? Is it
everyone.
From the media?
Everyone. Yeah, it's literally from the chairman, the chief execs, the sporting directors, the players' agents, the mums and the dads and the brothers and the friends.
Did I just out of the corner of my eye see Lionel Messi on your phone there? Was that is that happening? No.
It's everyone. And you piece together information, and you speak to everyone, and you just try and get as much clarity and confirmation on things that you kind of half know, and you speak to someone else and they fill in a couple more gaps, and you speak to someone else and they fill in another gap, and then you go, right, we've got all the information, now we can go with the story. But social media has completely changed the dynamic of this. Now, one thing I try and do is you want to bring accurate information. I could sit there at the beginning on January the 1st and write a list of 50 players that potentially could come to Bournemouth, and the chances are the 4 or 5 or 6 players that they sign in the window will all be on that list at the start. But what's the point in putting out a list of 50 players just to be able to say at the end of the window, well, I told you? Yeah, but it's like if you have a gun and you shoot randomly, you're going to hit something. You know, everyone. So you try and give accurate information. You try and give information that the fans can feel and believe is genuine, as opposed to, you know, just fantasy signings. It comes from all over the place. You know, it's some weird and wonderful stories as well, where, you know, you get a social media picture, or someone sees someone in a service station on the way down the M6, and something else happens, and we've just had the Hilton on the phone in Bournemouth, and they've booked a room for Lionel Messi, and he's coming, you know, and things like that, and you get this information, and then you sort of, you know, build it together as a story. But key is just being accurate.
There must be a bit of a risk, obviously, for Foley. He's putting his money where his mouth is, but he knows what the league table says, and that's that Bournemouth are below the dotted line. if we weren't below the dotted line, if we were, say, 13th and maybe with more of a points cushion,
Yeah.
do you think he would be spending exactly the same, or do you think he would have even been chucking more money at it?
I think it would have been, FFP for a start. Bournemouth can only spend what they receive.
I mean, we've spent a lot already, so where do we lie with that?
Well, FFP is one of those things. It's done over a 3-year cycle. And it's about the turnover of the football club and how much money you generate and profit and so on and so forth. And obviously being in the Premier League is worth a minimum of £130 million a year. Yeah. So, you can do the maths when you start to add gate receipts, when you start to add commercial income and other little bits and bobs that you get money, sponsorship, commercial stuff, and you can start to build a picture of the turnover of the football club, and then you can start to work out what they can afford to spend in terms of FFP. Newcastle are having the problem at the moment, richest owners in the world, billions and billions of pounds at their disposal, but they can't spend it because they have to work within the parameters, and Bournemouth are no different. They have to be sensible, and I think that's something that's always been important for this football club and that was the same under Maxim. He always backed the manager, they always tried to sign players, but they did it in a way that they thought was sensible for the football club. Be careful with the wages, be careful with the fees, and always sign players that you think, right, that can make the club money down the line should we go down or should we decide to sell. And I think the remit's very similar now. I don't think they'd be investing in 20-year-olds if they didn't think A, they could have an impact on the first team, and B, they could make the club some money down the line. So I just think they've just tried to do the right thing. Bill Foley wouldn't have bought a football club that was run poorly financially. Why would you go and put money into a black hole? He's come into this football club because he believes it's sustainable. He believes it has a lot of an exciting future, and he believes the people that are running the football club are good football people with good knowledge and experience, and they can do what's right for the club. So I think the same remit, different market. UK domestic recruitment has been the thing of the past, players from the Premier League, players from the Championship. Slightly different in this window. Obviously we've used the European market a bit more, so it'd be interesting to see. I'm fascinated to see how these players turn out in the Premier League. We might have a couple of gems, we might have a couple that don't work out. But that's transfers, that's football, and that's signing players. You get some right, you get some wrong. You just have to hope that you get more right than wrong.
So I know you're going to be a busy man. You're going to be live on Sky Sports News tonight, I'm absolutely certain. If you were, I hate the word YouTuber because I don't consider myself one, but if you were a YouTuber and had to put some words on the thumbnail to entice people to watch, what are we saying? Two more signings? 3 more signings? Or could it be more than that?
8 more signings. We're trying to entice people to watch the video. 8 more signings.
But, we do know of the 2 that have yet to be announced by the club. There could be more names other than that.
I would be surprised if I'm stood here at midnight tonight and we've only signed the 2 names that the club has agreed deals with, which is obviously Hamed Traore at Sassuolo and Ilya as well, Zabani. I would be surprised if they were the only 2 players that we'd signed on top of Vigna. I think there'll be I'd say there'll be at least 1 more. There may be 2.
So when Foley said 4 or 5, he wasn't joking. He meant 6 or 7.
I think when a billionaire says something, you sit up and listen, because it's not very often they get things wrong. They put their money where their mouth is, and he's got the ability to do that. I think the club knew, because we were going through a difficult period of transition and new ownership in the summer. Why would Maxim go and spend 50 million quid on a club that he was about to sell? And so he just wouldn't do it. No one would do it. It's like, oh, I'm just selling my house, but I'm going to go and put an extension on the back, and it's going to cost me loads of money, and someone else is going to get the benefit. It just doesn't make sense. So there was a little bit of a period over the summer where it wasn't an ideal window, but I still think we did great business considering. So now we can spend a bit more and make up for that, and I think that's where you'll see. That's where we've seen a really positive window so far. But I think it could get exciting. I'm hoping so. That's why I'm here anyway.
That's what it. Mark, I know your time's precious. Thank you very much for coming on Back of the Net. And tune into Sky Sports News tonight. He'll have some good news for you. Mark, it's been a pleasure.
Hopefully. Don't sell them down the river.
Up the Cherries. See you in the next video.